When my husband was deployed, I took care of his parents full-time, grocery runs, bills, doctor visits. One day, I overheard his mother say on the phone, "She's doing this out of guilt. No one really loves our family unless they have something to prove." I waited until she left the room, then packed my bags. When my husband called that night, I told him everything. He said, "Don't rock the boat." So, I did something better. I stepped off it entirely. My husband was 6 weeks into his third deployment when I moved into his parents' house. It wasn't something I was excited about, but he asked me to. Said they'd need help while he was gone. His dad had Parkinson's, early stages, but bad enough that he couldn't drive anymore. His mom had what she called flare-ups. Of what, no one could say. Sometimes it was her back. Sometimes her stomach. Once it was nerve swelling. She had a drawer full of pills, most half-used, and a calendar full of appointments. I didn't ask questions. I just did what needed to be done. I moved out of our apartment, rented it to a coworker's cousin, and moved into the guest room at his parents' house in Spring Lake, just outside Fayetteville. From the minute I arrived, I became the help. I drove them to every appointment, sorted all their mail, paid bills, cooked, cleaned, dealt with their snippy little dog that peed everywhere. And I worked part-time at a clinic downtown, squeezing in shifts between taking care of everything else. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd grow to care about me. Or respect me, at least. But every day it became clearer. I was just there to serve. It wasn't always the words. Sometimes it was how his mom would sigh whenever I spoke, like I was annoying her just by existing. Or how she corrected me about everything. How I folded towels, how I cooked eggs, how I talked too much on the phone. She talked to me like I was a teenager, not a woman married 5 years to her only son. Still, I pushed through. For my husband, he'd call every few days, depending on the connection. I told him when his dad fell in the shower, when the car battery died, when I paid for new medication because their insurance lapsed. He always said the same thing. "You're doing great. I don't know what I'd do without you." But he never said thank you. Not really. 3 months in, I started counting the days until his deployment ended. I thought that would be my light at the end of the tunnel. That once he was home, we'd get our life back. That he'd see everything I did for his family and appreciate me again. Then one day, I came in from pulling weeds in the backyard. I was dirty and sweaty. His dad was asleep. I walked into the hallway with a basket of laundry and stopped when I heard her voice. She was in the kitchen on the phone. "She's doing this out of guilt," she said, her voice sharp, like a knife slicing fruit. "No one really loves our family unless they've got something to prove." I give it 2 more months before she gives up. Then she laughed. That high-pitched, fake laugh she used when she was being especially cruel. Whoever she was talking to laughed too. I stood there with his dad's socks in my hands, stunned. I don't know how long I stood there, but when I finally moved, I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just packed a single bag. Left the rest in the closet. Took my car keys and left. I didn't go far. I found a motel near Fort Bragg, checked in under my own name, and lay on the bed for hours, staring at the ceiling. I didn't call anyone. I didn't text. I needed silence. I needed to remember who I was before I started drowning in that house. That night, around midnight, my husband called. He sounded tired. The connection was rough. I told him everything, word for word, what his mother said. He was quiet. For too long. Then he sighed and said, "Don't rock the boat, babe. You know how she is. Just ignore it until I get back." I sat up in the motel bed. "You think I'm rocking the boat?" I asked. "I was the boat. I was holding your family above water while you were gone. I paid your parents' bills. I took care of their appointments, their meds, their mess. I put my life on hold." More silence. "I know it's hard," he finally said. "But you're making this harder than it needs to be." That's when something snapped. "I'm not making anything harder. I just stopped playing dead so your mother could feel in control." I hung up. He tried calling back. I let it ring. And the next morning I made a plan. Not for revenge yet. Not exactly. But I knew I wasn't going back to that house. Not ever again. I just didn't know yet how far I'd go to take my power back. I didn't go to work the next day. I stayed in that motel, sipping bad coffee and making a list. Not just any list. A list of everything I had done for his family since he left. Every grocery trip. Every appointment. Every dollar spent. Every hour wasted waiting for doctors, arguing with insurance, scrubbing toilets that weren't mine. I wrote it all down. It came out to over $8,000 and more than 300 hours. I stared at the number for a long time. Then I sent it to my husband in a long email. I broke it all down line by line. I told him, "This is what I gave your parents. This is what I gave you." No reply. 3 days later, I got a text from his mother. Not him, her. "We just saw your little invoice. If you married for money, you picked the wrong man." That was it. I didn't respond. I printed the email, printed her text. Then I sent both, along with the full itemized list, to her church, to the VA caseworker I'd dealt with, to every doctor's office I had driven them to. Every one of them got a copy with a short note. "I am no longer responsible for Harold or Denise fake names. Please remove my name from all records. I will not be involved in their care going forward. This is non-negotiable." Then I blocked their numbers. I got a message from my husband a few days later. This time it wasn't gentle. "You're embarrassing me. What are people going to think?" I stared at my phone for a long time before replying. "Maybe they'll think you're a man who let his wife be abused while he looked the other way." Then I turned off my phone. That's when I started getting messages from his friends. Guys from his unit. One of them, Travis, called me while I was still at the motel. He said, "Look, I don't want to get involved, but you should know, he's been talking about how he's done when he gets back. He said he's tired of the drama. That he wants a fresh start." I didn't speak. Then Travis said something that flipped everything inside me. "He's talking like he's already got someone waiting." That's when the picture came together. All those nights he barely called. The sudden coldness. How he kept telling me to just wait. He wasn't planning to come back to me. He was letting me hold the pieces together while he built a new life behind my back. He wasn't asking me not to rock the boat because he cared. He just didn't want me tipping it over before he was ready to jump. That night, I went back to our apartment. The one I had rented out to my coworker's cousin. I knocked. I asked if I could come inside. They let me in. I stared at the old couch, the pictures still on the wall. My life. My home. And I made a new list. Step 1, lawyer. Step 2, cancel his POA, power of attorney. Step 3, pull every financial record. Step 4, wait for him to come home. I was done cleaning up his messes. This time, he was going to walk straight into one of mine. I didn't waste time. First thing Monday, I walked into a law office off Person Street. I chose a woman named Melissa, mid-40s, sharp eyes, firm handshake. I told her everything. Not just about the deployment or the care duties or the insult. I told her about the money I fronted, the emotional abuse, the rumors of him seeing someone else. She nodded slowly through it all. Then she said, "Let's get ahead of this." We filed the paperwork to revoke his power of attorney. I froze the joint account before he could move anything else. I had been funneling my paycheck into a separate bank account for months already, but I didn't trust him not to take whatever was left. Next, we drafted a legal notice to his parents. No longer responsible for medical or financial care. Cease contact. It wasn't about revenge yet. It was about cutting the cord. But something still didn't sit right with me. I knew him. He wouldn't take this quietly. He wasn't violent, but he was a manipulator. And manipulators don't like losing control. Then a week later, it happened. I got served. An envelope slid under my apartment door. It wasn't divorce papers. It was a petition for separation of assets from him from overseas. He beat me to it. That was when I got angry. Not just hurt. Not just betrayed. I saw red. All those months of working myself to the bone for his parents, of crying alone at night, of covering for him when his mom would say cruel things. None of it mattered. He had already moved on. And now he wanted to protect his money? So I started digging. I still had access to his old email, one he forgot I could get into. It was tied to our shared Amazon account. I only ever used it to track packages. But this time, I scrolled deeper. And there it was. Plane tickets. Not to Fayetteville. To Charleston, South Carolina. One ticket. One return date. But the name didn't match mine. Then hotel bookings. And emails with someone named Mira. I opened one. It said, "Can't wait until this nightmare is over. She's losing it. I'll be home soon, baby." Baby. He called her baby. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I hit forward. Sent every email to my lawyer. Then I called Travis, the friend who had warned me. I said, "You were right. There is someone else. Do you know who she is?" There was silence. Then he said, "Yeah, we met her." "You what?" "Yeah. She came to the send-off party before this last tour. She said she was just a friend, but she stayed overnight." A few of us thought it was weird. So I dug more. Mira was his friend's cousin, from when they were stationed in Texas. She'd been posting photos with him for months. Private profile, but not private enough. That's when I decided, no more sitting back. No more just protecting myself. He wanted to start over? Fine. But I was going to make sure he had nothing to stand on when he did. I printed every email, every hotel reservation, every social media screenshot. Every dollar I spent on his parents. Every text from his mom. Then I sent a package to his command unit, addressed to the unit leader. Anonymous return address. Inside. Everything. And I knew one thing from living around this military base long enough. Command doesn't like drama. Especially when you're cheating on your wife during deployment. Now it was just a matter of time. It didn't take long. 3 weeks after I sent that package to his command, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't know, but I answered anyway. "Is this Mrs. Reyes?" the man asked. "Yes. This is Lieutenant Colonel Haywood, from your husband's unit. We received your documentation. We'll be investigating further, but I wanted you to know, your actions are justified. You've done the right thing." I didn't know what to say. I think I just muttered, "Thank you." The next day, my husband finally called. His voice was tight. Cold. "What the hell did you send to my CO?" he snapped. I didn't bother pretending. "Everything you didn't want them to see. You don't understand what you've done." "No, you don't understand." I cut in. "You left me here to carry your family while you played house with someone else. You let your mother talk down to me every single day. You used me until I wasn't useful anymore. And when I stopped taking it, you panicked." He didn't respond. I could hear breathing. Heavy. "You always said I make things harder than they need to be," I said quietly. "But you're the one who made this ugly." I just made sure everyone saw it. Then I hung up. That was the last time we ever spoke. It unraveled fast after that. He was pulled from active duty and put under administrative review. There was talk of misconduct and moral code violations. Turns out the Army takes extramarital affairs seriously, especially when it involves deception during deployment. Mira? She disappeared. Deleted all her accounts. Rumor had it she didn't know he was still married, but I never verified it. Didn't care. Let her deal with that wreck on her own. His parents tried to contact me through a neighbor. Said they didn't deserve to be dragged into this. I laughed when I heard that. Dragged in? They were the anchor. The separation turned into a full divorce. I didn't ask for alimony. I asked for every penny I spent on his family. And with the evidence and testimony from Travis and others who knew what happened, the court granted it. He had to sell his truck to cover it. I heard he moved to South Carolina after discharge. Couldn't get a transfer. Couldn't get much of anything. His record was stained. As for me, I moved back into the apartment, replaced the furniture, repainted the walls. It took time, but I slowly rebuilt the life I gave up for a man who let me burn while he moved on. Was I perfect? No. I waited too long to stand up for myself. I let people use me, disrespect me, all for the illusion of family. But I ended it. I didn't rock the boat. I stepped off and let it sink behind me.